right, guys. Welcome aboard. This is our first
Hello.
foray into podcasting or something like that.
We decided to do it on video so you can watch us
Yeah.
grimace.
Yeah, since everyone's stuck inside and hanging out and not doing shit. How are you guys feeling? Are you, there's a chat here. I'll say hi in it. On the YouTube page. Feel free to log into that shit and say something. Oh, you're already getting trolled, Mike.
What happened? Who
Josh
is it?
Josh Miller. He's already wrote. For those of you that don't work at Longfellow, sit back and enjoy the thrills of watching Mike use a computer. So.
Oh yeah, I can't even figure out how to. I can't find out how to get on the YouTube thing yet.
Yeah. I can't help you. What's funny is that's something I can't help you with. I only have it because I'm doing this shit with the other stuff. If I was in your position, I wouldn't be able to find it. Now we're getting phone calls. So let's go ahead and take this phone call. You want to do that?
Sure.
All right. Hi, you're on the air.
Yeah, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yeah, here, hold on. Yeah. There we go. It's Will Webb, guys.
Say... Oh, hello. Mike, phone calls.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and take this phone call.
Oh God, I'm trying to figure out. Hi, how are y'all?
I just wanted to see if I could watch you hang up on me live.
Yeah. Hey, you see how that goes? Hey, no, hey, actually, stay tuned. We got something very special for you. So check this out. We just got this in, but yeah, this is how getting hang up feels. There you
go. We getting hung up on?
No, actually, I'm not. There it is. There you go. All right, well, hey, wait, Will, how is quarantine treating you?
Me?
Yeah.
It's tight. I just did 2 years in prison. It's just like a little nap, you know?
It's like that with better food?
Yeah, just not as much. And,
yeah.
So I wake up and light a candle so I can't smell myself. My dog and wear rubber gloves to touch all the doorknobs in my building. And then come back in for 8 hours and do that again. And usually I work out and masturbate, alternating.
Yeah. Are you filling up trash bags with water? Isn't that what they do in prison?
Oh, I got toilet wine recipes for days, player.
That's tight.
There was so many rotting fucking oranges outside Finley Market the other day.
So, I've talked to you a couple times on the phone. I don't know that anyone else has. How are you doing with this? This unprecedented moment in history, which is really what it is. It doesn't feel like it, but it really is.
We're living in history, yes.
Yeah, we are living in weird history. The fact that...
Well, wait,
No, go ahead.
Should we... Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think we should point out first that Jeremy and I have talked about doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And mainly in podcast form. And so this is a very loose interpretation of it. But I don't believe without this pandemic sheltering that we would ever have done this. So this is kind of good, I guess, right?
Yeah. I think good stuff has come out of this.
But I don't know. How are you holding up?
I'm doing all right. You know what? I'll tell you what. My house has never been so fucking clean. I think I've resorted to the way fucking people during the Revolutionary era of America slept. From what I read, that they kind of every day was kind of in two. They woke up with the dawn, worked the fields, did whatever they do, and then went home, went to bed, and then woke up, kind of around 3 a.m. or something, and were up for another half a day or something. I could be totally wrong on that, but I did read that somewhere, and I I'm a trap for. I'm like a fucking lint filter for weird, useless facts. So it's stuck in my brain meats for a reason.
History, the lint of history.
Yeah, I'm the lint trap of history.
it makes sense. I don't know. Maybe George Washington liked naps. Thomas Jefferson definitely liked naps. I don't know about.
He liked naps and yeah.
Ben Franklin liked snacks.
He did. Snacks and older women. Yeah, he liked widows, from what I understand. He liked a woman that knew what she liked, supposedly.
Hey, we should talk about that later in a future episode. That they found the bones in the house that Ben Franklin used to rent.
Really?
And it might tie into tonight's thing when we talk about grave robbing, but I think he used to buy bodies to study on, and then when he moved out, like 50 years later, they found a bunch of bones in his house, and then there was actual like studies. Like, was Ben Franklin a serial killer?
Could have been.
They found out he wasn't, but he probably was practicing surgery or whatever on these bodies. But
yeah,
we'll have to fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it's true.
I mean, I don't fucking doubt it. I don't know. The other weird Ben Franklin fact I do know is that when they were trying to designate what the country's bird was going to be, which obviously is the bald eagle, he wanted the turkey.
Yeah. Yes. The turkey was supposed to be the state bird, and I always imagine that like 9/11 thing with the bald eagle crying, like if it was I've always wanted to make a shirt that's like the turkey crying, staring at the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone would buy it. Just me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. The other thing I've learned about, being quarantined in the house, I put on shoes earlier today, and it's a real weird experience now because I'm going days without fucking shoes. I'm wearing socks, and I'm able to get a couple days out of the socks more than I usually do because they're not getting dirty, other than whatever dirt they're picking up off the floor. But it's doing all right. They're not all sweaty. Weirdly clean. I'm actually showering, and there are plenty of people in this fucking chat right now, I know for a fact, to say I smell like a bum's nutsack, and usually I'm inclined to agree. Right now I'm pretty fucking tight. I smell like a spring fucking meadow. So so maybe that's something I've learned about myself here. I now sleep weird and I smell better. So good things are coming about, and also we're making this for God knows whoever's entertainment.
Hold on. Josh is talking shit.
Oh, what else is new?
He said he would have bet that I would have told the Ben Franklin wanted the national language to be German, which is true. Because he was like, why the hell? We just killed England. Why would we take their language? We should speak German.
Yeah.
But everyone else was like, I don't want to learn a new language, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it sounds like effort, I mean,
they had nothing but time on their hands.
Yeah, you're right. Like the only thing they're gonna do is like eat squirrels and drink fucking rum. So, they weren't drinking whiskey then.
No. Only rum. Yeah, colonial liquor.
Rum and brandy, right? They were drinking brandy too. Am I correct?
Brandy, probably not in. Well, maybe, probably more in the Louisiana area, but maybe in D.C.
Yeah.
And Virginia. Well, no, because George Washington. So he had a big distillery at Mount Vernon, and he made whiskey. He didn't make bourbon, but he made whiskey, and then he made a ton of Applejack. He loved Applejack.
Yeah. Actually, he got the recipe from Laird.
Yeah.
Yeah. He conscripted his son in his army, as a weird roundabout way of getting that shit. So that's what I read,
Yeah.
at least. That's what I read on the Wikipedia page for Laird's Apple Brandy.
Hey man, liquor companies have a lot of leeway with making up bullshit. So
yeah, you are correct. You are correct.
you never know.
Yeah.
It's like the law. The law's like, here's what bourbon is, but you can literally create any story to tell us where your bourbon came from.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Which
just like,
is insane.
yeah, what weird old dead guy do you want to talk about? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
seriously.
what's his name? Remus. That's a great one. That's a great local guy.
Yeah, let's name a whiskey after the guy that murdered his wife and got away with it. And I think
Yeah.
wasn't he the first insanity plea?
You may be right on that. I know he basically shot his. There was I think a car chase involved, and then he shot his wife.
In Mount Storm Park.
Yeah, in
right?
Mount Storm. Yeah, in public in Mount Storm Park, and that person was actually in the TV show Boardwalk Empire, and it was played by the guy that played the killer in the first True Detective. And weirdly enough, I'm
the
sorry,
Yellow King or whatever.
yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy played George Remus in Boardwalk Empire, and for whatever reason, George Remus in that show always talked in third person. I don't know why that was a
I wonder
thing.
if that's a thing.
Yeah.
How would that play out if George Remus had a bottle of his own whiskey? He'd be like, George Remus wants to drink some George Remus right now.
It'd be like holding
a
it'd be like holding a mirror to a mirror, and you just watch the hallway just kind of,
go back and back and back.
Yeah, just get smaller and smaller. Yeah. So we didn't actually put things in order. We kind of got wrapped up in everything else. What was the first order of business we were gonna get into, aside from watching John tattoo himself?
I don't know.
That was
We've
a nice
already gone so far off the rails. But I was gonna talk. You were gonna talk about what'd you research today? We researched some stuff.
Yeah, we did. I'm not a historian by any stretch of the imagination. I wasn't exactly very studious in school. I did actually get thrown out of school for throwing a book at a teacher. I had anger issues.
Was it a history book?
No, it was actually a math book because, me and numbers, man.
They hurt.
Yeah, they hurt. But yeah, so I kind of did this meandering. It starts one way and ends another. So we're gonna start with Tecumseh, the head of the kind of like the northwestern Ohio, the Great Lakes area, Native Americans, that nation. And we're gonna end up with coffin torpedoes, and they're not as ridiculous as that sounds, but it's still pretty fucking ridiculous. So we'll get into that. We're also gonna talk about the Singapore Sling, since we're gonna talk about booze.
Yeah.
Right. What else? Did we have something else in there? I totally forgot.
I was gonna bring up a story about the old Timber Inn here in Northside and how I became friends with the owner, Elmer, over the years, and he spins yarns about Jesse James, having a picture of Jesse James having a drink there.
Oh,
and
dude.
then
let's get into that.
That took me down a path of, there used to be a little jumper train, like an express train that ran basically from Spring Grove Cemetery all the way, with connections all the way to Detroit. Okay. But I think it mainly took you from Cincinnati through Toledo to Cleveland. But he claims it. So that's kind of why the old Timber Inn was there. So Buddy, he's an old guy. He he told me a story. His name's Elmer Ferguson, and he owns the Old Timber Inn on Spring Grove Avenue. And if you've never been there, I'm sure you've driven by it. It's the fish logs place. So he makes all his own food, and it's actually pretty good. Maybe some of the dates are questionable, but I know that
definitely no gloves, right?
no gloves. But he makes his own tartar sauce, and so I think the only places still in Cincinnati that have fish logs are Lake Nina, out in I guess Coleraine, wherever Lake Nina is, and then Old Timber Inn. And so Elmer is kind of he actually grew up so close to where my grandmother grew up in North Carolina, kind of by the panhandle of Virginia. And so he tells a story that he volunteered to fight in World War II every day. He rode his bike when he was 15 to the recruiting office and would try to sign up, go fight in the war. And he finally ended up getting drafted when he turned not drafted, I guess, enlisted when he turned 17. He ended up in Japan right after we nuked Japan. So he never saw combat, but he has pictures in his bar of him in front of Mount Fuji, and it's pretty cool. Anyway, he's an old timer. I'm forever indebted to him because he had a big stash of old liquor in one of his houses that he just gifted to me, and one of them being a Fidel Castro bottle of Cuban Añejo rum.
Oh wow!
Which I've never opened or drank, but it's full and it's pretty cool. But he gave me a bunch of stuff. But anyway, so he tells the story. He has in a safe in the Old Timber Inn, and it used to be an inn. I think there's 10 hotel rooms or 10 rooms upstairs. He still lives in one of them.
Oh wow!
And I think he was trying to fix it up and maybe trying to reopen it. I guess in the 70s, the Old Timber Inn was a popular pizza joint. Okay. And so I'm good friends with him. So when this thing blows over, when the Corona thing blows over, anyone that wants to come, we'll go in there. And he basically just lets me get my own beers out of the fridge and pop them myself. And it's pretty funny.
That sounds like a good place for like a bar Christmas party or something.
Oh God, he would love it. He's definitely like a Fox News guy, if that matters. But he somewhere inside of him, he's got a heart of gold. Yeah. But
you say it's okay, Papa. Tell me more about Japan, there, Papa. You know.
Yeah, exactly. He is.
You got family like that. You just change the subject. You just like they're like cats. Like no, go over here. Look at this laser. You know.
like what do you call that? Misdirection.
Yeah. It's misdirection. That's how you deal with your questionably racist family members.
Anyway, Elmer owns Old Timber Inn. I think he's 85. He's old. But so he claims his dad bought the place. I think his dad bought the place in 72. And he claims that when they bought it in 72, that the guy who owned it had a tintype or a daguerreotype, some photo of the James gang drinking dark beers in the Old Timber Inn, and he's got like a photocopy of it up on the wall, and he keeps the original in the safe.
Now, one of the pictures you sent me, is that one of them?
No. So I don't have the picture he has, but it is on the wall in there. I was just sending you stuff because I told my mom this story, and my mom was like, "Oh man, like there's very few pictures of Jesse James. Yeah. You know, I think there's like 40 pictures or something of Jesse James." And then she told me, it tied into another story, there's even less pictures of Billy the Kid. I think there's 2 known pictures of Billy the Kid.
Okay, yeah.
And one of them, I sent you that. One of them was bought at I think it was bought at a yard sale he found it in a junk shop, and it was an old tintype photo. He bought it for $2, and then somehow he proved that it was Billy the Kid, and he sold it for $5 million.
Jesus.
And it's funny because the only one that picture you always see of Billy the Kid where he's kind of leaning sideways and he's got some sort of lever action rifle at his feet. Was like the known picture of Billy the Kid for the longest time. He's got like messed up teeth and stuff. The picture this guy bought at the junk store is Billy the Kid playing croquet or croquet.
Okay. Yeah. This is the picture we got right here.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. There it is for everyone to see. That's what we're talking about. It's Billy the Kid playing croquet.
So that picture, this guy bought for $2, and they put it on auction a while back for I think it sold for $5 million, but apparently it's Billy the Kid and members of his gang, the Regulators, and they're playing croquet after a wedding. So you can zoom out of that picture and there's more people in the photo.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I didn't download that one, so no one else.
Oh no, that's all good.
Yeah.
But it's pretty interesting. So anyway, Elmer at Old Timber Inn claims to have this picture of Jesse James. I've seen it. It's a sideways photo, which I guess is really, really hard to prove. Yeah, there's the original.
That's Billy the Kid right there.
Yeah, that's the original Billy the Kid photo that everyone knows is actually him. And so that other photo of him playing croquet was like the second one they found, and it's worth a ton of money. So there's 2 known pictures of Billy the Kid, which is pretty crazy considering how famous he was. I'm sure there's a ton of like police sketches or wanted poster drawings, but the fact there's only 2 known. But so Jesse James kind of falls in that category of where there's not a ton of pictures of him out there. Well, at least privately owned. I think one of his like great grandsons runs the James Foundation.
Yeah.
And
which one is this right here?
So that is the one. That one was recent. So that is a Daguerre type or a tin type that a guy bought on eBay. That is of Jesse James.
Okay, that's
Jesse James. That. That's Jesse James. He bought that on eBay for $10, which is also insane. And then sold it for I think it said it was $1 million or $2 million.
Yeah, sold it to Christie's or something.
Yeah, like through some auction house, probably Christie's or something. And then it's funny because there's a few stories like Elmer's, like, so he has this passed down picture of Jesse James. It was obviously, you would have wanted to kept it, even though Jesse James was arguably a friggin' scumbag. He fought for the South. He there's the whole notion of him being kind of like a Robin Hood type, which is not very true.
Yeah, it's more just like folk tales. Yeah.
It's more folk tales, and I think it's Southern bullshit, Southerners.
Yeah.
I'm from like hanging on to the Civil War, loving this guy, idolizing this guy because he like never gave up the fight, kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
But he was notorious. Him and his group, he rode with William Quantrill and Bloody Bill Anderson, and they were like kind of famed for when the South surrendered, they never gave up, and they would go around killing abolitionists and stuff. They were just horrible people.
Yeah.
Horrible people. Ended up robbing trains and banks and all that crap. And of course, there's legends and songs and stories about him. So he's famous. Basically, that all boils down to why is his picture worth anything, But Adam, what'd you miss? The point plot? Come on. It's delayed. It's funny.
Yeah.
But we're on a 5-minute delay. We're gonna bleep out all our swear words.
Yeah. We're actually talking to you from the future. Everything that we're doing, you're seeing. We're doing like a minute more of shit that you're not seeing yet to give you an idea. So when we see your text, we kind of have to think about what we were talking about a minute ago. It's Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
I was typing. Hold on, let me see. So this picture is another story. So that's what I was getting to. So Elmer has this story of this passed down photo that was given to him by the guy who originally owned Old Timber Inn, claims it's them drinking there. This other photo, that's Jesse James with Robert Ford, who eventually ended up killing him. So Jesse James is on the right and Robert Ford's on the left.
Okay.
And Robert Ford, you all know there's the movies, but you know the famous story where
there's like two
Jesse
of them
James,
or something. Yeah, 2 or 3 of them.
But Jesse James, for some reason, decided to like fix a painting in his house while Robert Ford was there, and Robert Ford shot him in the back and murdered him for reward money. But they were friends, as you can see, up until that point.
Yeah.
And that's a story that's been told a million times over, and I don't even know it that well. But that picture you just showed is an example of another found photo of Jesse James that this family had for a long time, and the family would always be like, yeah, you know what, like Granny gave us a photo of Jesse James, and like no one believed this family. And then the family spent a little bit of money having a like police sketch artist, or like I guess a forensic artist, you might call them. They're used in court trials.
Okay, yeah.
So, and he did.
I've watched a lot of Forensic Files. I've actually seen all of the fucking collections on Netflix. But yeah.
So they ran it through all the facial recognition tests you can do and everything, and basically proved that was Jesse James. And then she was basically like, see, no one believes me because I'm like a dumb redneck from nowhere, but this picture of Jesse James is real. So Elmer's picture at Old Timber Inn, I personally don't think it's Jesse James, but I will say, because his face is profiled and you can't tell at all, but I will say that one of the guys in the picture looks like Frank James, who is Jesse James' brother. But whether or not it's Jesse and Frank James and part of their gang, which would have been the younger brothers at the time, whether or not it's them, I don't think it's in the Old Timber Inn. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's the Old Timber Inn or not. Who knows what it looked like in 1872? But I mean, there's some physical characteristics of the interior of that building that you couldn't change, and they looked changed. There's like, a support beam here that's not there anymore, and who knows, but that building is old. But regardless, Elmer's got this story of owning this picture of Jesse James, and one day he's going to sell it for $1 million and retire on it and all these things. And I'm like, Elmer, let's figure it out and sell it. And he's just like, no, just
yeah. Oh, was he's sitting on it, like waiting for it to make more money?
Yeah, but I'm like, Elmer, you're 85, man. Like, no one's just pass it to your kid or so. He doesn't have any kids, I don't think. No, he does have a kid. He's got a daughter.
Yeah.
I think he told me a story that he has a daughter that's like a famous rodeo rider in Texas or some shit.
Oh,
some
cool.
shit you can't make. Some shit you can't make up. But yeah. I remember that a little bit about him. But anyway, I guess all my research, which was about 20 minutes today, on Jesse James.
Yeah, we're a real pro outfit here. 20-minute research.
But I'm gonna bring it back home, and we're gonna save this for another episode when we get better at doing this.
Yeah.
Once we stop bombing live on YouTube.
Yeah. Once we stop shitting the bed completely.
No. But so the train line that ran from Old Timber Inn due north, basically by Spring Grove Cemetery. So I guess it used to run up what is that street there that runs out of Old Timber Inn? Dane? Is that Dane? No, that's not Dane.
I don't know.
Anyway, whatever. I live on Chase Street right there, but I found out that train line, so like I said earlier, it was an electric train, and it was an express line that would take you through Toledo to Cleveland, and then you could transfer there to get to Detroit. And it ran through from 1930 to 1939. So it was like total Depression era, just weird train, and it was for people to commute, I guess, back and forth to work. But at the turn of the century, there was another train line there, I guess 1904, and there's a friggin' unsolved serial killer case at the time. North side was South Cumminsville, and he was known as the Cumminsville Ripper. And there was, I swear to God,
that sounds like a good shot name.
The Cumminsville Ripper.
Yeah, dude, we had so many Cumminsville Rippers last night, dude. I ended up tattooing myself.
He killed 4 women between 1904 and 1910. Arguably, I think, and then maybe they said 6 women. They weren't sure, and so he would basically murder them, like beat them up with bash them with a stick, and then dump their bodies on that train track to make it look like a train ran over them, so he could get away with it. And he would dump bodies sometimes in Spring Grove Cemetery. And anyway, the Cumminsville Ripper. Also, there was weird early conspiracy theories at the time that it was that the reason Jack the Ripper never got caught was because he moved to Cincinnati and became the Cumminsville Ripper. And he was also, I swear to God, he was also called Cincinnati's Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And a couple other names that the news guys gave him was the Man Gorilla, I guess, because they found footprints by one of the murder scenes, and he had like huge feet.
He's like
not like big, not like long, not like basketball player feet. Yeah. He had like wide feet, like extra, like big footprint feet.
Beefed real hard with like the Loveland Frogman and shit.
Yes.
I love it. Sidebar, quick sidebar. There's some company in Japan that makes like little action figures of cryptids, and they literally made one of the fucking Loveland Frogman. And there's not like a big wide selection of them. You would think the Loveland Frogman would be very low on the fucking list. There's only like 5. So someone just thought that one was funny. But anyways, I'm sorry. So the Man Gorilla, you say?
Yeah. So my favorite name for the Cincinnati, the Cumminsville Ripper, or Cincinnati Jack the Ripper, is he's also known as the Slouch Hat Man. Which what the hell is that? How do you even get that name? But yeah, so he killed. Let's see. We should cover this later in depth because there's a decent amount of information on it.
Yeah.
But he killed 6 women between 1904 and 1910, and then there are a handful of suspects, I guess, that got really what do you call it? They had a list of suspects they dove pretty deep into and couldn't come up with anything. So he never got caught. And so that's an unsolved mystery. Like Robert Stack.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my story that didn't really end or begin or have a middle about Elmer at Old Timber Inn claiming that he has a picture of Jesse James.
What I want to know about this, though, what I want to know is like, okay, so because I know where you live, and most of the people here that are like at least in the chat or whatever, they know where you live as well, and they know where this is compared, where the Timber Inn is compared to where you live. So, did you just like walk out of the house one day and were like, oh, I want to see what this place is about? And did you just meander in, or I don't know?
So
did your wife dare you? Did the dog run away and you chased it into the Timber Inn, or how did you find yourself on a whim walking into that place? And then where does it go from there? Do you walk in? Is there like dust and sunlight? And I don't know.
That's a good question. So I think how this happened was I have a friend that lives in Northside named Danny, and Danny he was my neighbor actually, and he had just mentioned, hey, we should check out Old Timber Inn one day. And I think we went there, and he already kind of knew him because he was maybe buying a house off of him. Okay. This is my loose memory. So we go in, he introduces me to Elmer. I for some reason, Elmer, he's a storyteller, right? So he's telling me all these stories right off the bat.
Yeah.
And he's taking me on a tour. Because an interesting thing about Elmer, like myself, we both love German beer. And on his old menus from the 70s, he was sponsored by, I think, Bitburger Beer or someone, like printed his menus.
Okay.
And he has this cool bar. Like, if you know where the old Timber Inn is, to the left of it, there's that park. And then behind it is the Mill Creek. And so he makes fish logs out of Atlantic cod. And if you don't know what a fish log is, I just try to tell people it's like a fish stick, but bigger, just like a stick to a log. A fish stick.
It's kind of like the same way, basically, like maybe a calzone, just a really big fucking pizza roll.
Yes. So a fish log is just one big fish stick. And when you go there and eat, he makes a killer breakfast too. Everybody's always like, oh man, who makes breakfast? Like, go eat breakfast one day at the Old Timber Inn. Other than Fox News being on, there's nothing scary. It's actually got some of the coolest bathroom tiles I've ever seen, and it's got wood paneling with white-tailed deer on it. It's just great. But I've taken, Phil Valois and Emma, like they've gone there with me. I think John Weiner's drank there with me, I believe. Yeah, John and Stuart. Shay has been there with me, but he still always has some sort of bottle of German beer in the fridge. So he'll just be like, I'll show up and I'll be like, hey, Mike, how's it going, man? And I'll be like, oh, it's good. And he'll be like, go grab yourself a beer. So
go help yourself.
When this thing ends, another interesting story about Elmer. He claims he used to have a gambling problem, and when the casino opened up, he'd go gamble a ton. And he took me into this room once, and it was just filled with like new microwaves and I don't know, like any appliance you can imagine that you could fit in a box, like a microwave and a toaster oven and a thing. And I'd be like, Elmer, what's up with all this, like,
really good at Price is Right or something?
Yeah, this pile of new appliances. And he'd be like, oh man, them bastards at the casino, they trick you into coming down there and gambling because they give you a microwave every time you come down there. And I'm like, Elmer, I've been to 1 million casinos in my life, and like no one has ever offered me a microwave oven. Anyway, he's a good guy.
Every time I've been in a casino, no, there's never a microwave's never been involved, ever. Yeah, I don't know.
No. So anyway, that's it. If you want to, one day we can all go there. Everyone in this chat list, we can go there and we'll look at a picture of Jesse James.
Yeah, we'll drink a German beer and eat a fish log.
And eat a fish log with, honestly, the best tartar sauce I've ever had.
Yeah, you said he makes it himself, correct? Yeah.
He prides himself on his tartar sauce, which is a sentence you don't say very much, but it's true.
Yeah, right?
All right, Adam, here.
Yeah.
I'm on drink 3. Yeah. Ralph beer.
Well, you got the blurry background, so you got to hold it in front of your face.
Oh, here, I'll unblur my background. For no reason other than
it looks fancy. There we go.
Ralph beer.
Look at that beautiful bean footage right there. Yeah. Speaking of booze, okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's move on to our next segment here. I mean, pretty much everyone we're looking at here in the chat, at least, they slung some booze. Here? Yeah, there's people here. Yeah, we got some numbers. It looks good.
Well, mine says there's 200 people watching. Is that what yours says?
Mine says
I'm kidding.
Deuce and a half.
It's not 200.
Yeah. But no, obviously we've slung some booze in our life. A lot of you guys have as well. Obviously, we're gonna have to talk about that. That's just something we do. It's not like we can talk about brain surgery or I don't know, your 401k or Roth IRAs or anything. We're not good at advice.
I just talked about Jesse James, and most people probably thought I was talking about the motorcycle guy. So who is related? He's related to Jesse James, but
is he really? Okay.
Yeah. Also, he was weirdly married to Sandra. No, not Sandra.
Yeah,
Bernhard.
he was married to Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, the girl from Demolition Man.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bernhard's better.
Yeah.
If you remember her from Roseanne.
Well, wasn't she Madonna's girlfriend for a minute?
Oh yes, her and Madonna. When Madonna, when going rogue, I guess was part of her deal. She dated Bernhard.
Yeah, this was from the same era where there was that famous picture of her getting eaten out by a. Is it eaten out or eaten out? Ate out.
8 out.
I'm gonna go. Okay, 8 out.
I'm going 8 out.
Eaten out. 8 out by a biker. You've seen that, right? Am I the only one here?
In that book, I shoplifted that book from B. Dalton. After they used to keep it behind the case because it was like $100 book, and then they put it out one day, and I shoplifted it in high school because I was bad.
Well, I mean, it's $100 book. I was gonna ask you, like, was it because of some weird Christian shame, or was it you just didn't have any fucking money? And obviously, we know the answer.
I wasn't 18, and I wasn't 18.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't legally buy it.
There is that. Yeah, I get that.
But I think Bernhard also had the first televised lesbian kiss on the Roseanne show. Was it Bernhard? And
I thought it was Ellen, or maybe she was the first one to have that in a story arc.
No, the first lesbian kiss was definitely on Roseanne, but I can't remember if it was Bernhard and.
It was probably Bernhard then.
Because she was on Roseanne, she worked at the loose meat shop, right?
Yeah.
Also, how much, like, God, I used to love Roseanne. Now fuck Roseanne. But how much of a bummer was the end of Roseanne?
Oh, yeah.
When it was just like her dreaming or writing a book or whatever, and you're like, Roseanne.
Come on.
No way. It's not good.
That's what happens when
it was.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say you're gonna pull the "it was all a dream" shit on me. No way.
Yeah. You pull the what is it? What's the name of that fucking hospital fucking show from the 80s?
General Hospital?
No. It was like a primetime one. It wasn't like Hill Street Blues because that was a cop show. It doesn't matter. But basically, they did that too. It was all a dream in this kid that was in the ICU's head. So that's how they ended their show. It was like, and it had nothing to do with that. It was kind of like Grey's Anatomy or something like that. It was one of those kind of shows.
Josh just brought up a great point that Roseanne is the Morrissey of TV, and it is true because I used to love Roseanne. I read her book. I loved everything about her. Her singing the national anthem is one of the best things that's ever happened on the planet.
Oh, that was fantastic.
In my opinion.
Yeah, and people were so mad.
Pissing off squares left and right.
Yeah.
Roseanne.
Yeah, and her answer was perfect. It's like, well, you asked a comedian to perform. What do you think a comedian's gonna do?
Yeah, and I can't sing. And that was when she had her like bad fro hair, and she wore like Cosby sweaters and had a froze the wrong word. It wasn't. It was just like a perm. I don't know what it was. Real curly shit.
It was a nest. It was quite the nest. Let's put it that way.
A mess.
Yeah.
Froze are beautiful. Beautiful. Hers was not beautiful. No, so I cannot.
It was just a weird fluff. Yeah. It was. And I think that's when she was fun, Roseanne, and she kind of like jumped the shark in the sense that like she got some money and I don't know, maybe started buying some art, started paying attention to shit that she portrayed very much a middle class person, and that's how everyone looked at her. That's how they related to her. And then she started doing shit that was out of that pay grade. collecting art and I don't know what. Reading Atlas Shrugged. I don't know.
Oh, by my girl Ayn Rand.
Yeah, Ayn Rand. She.
Um,
The other good thing. Did you see this? And I'm sure we'll talk about it some other time. The sequel to Dancing Outlaw on PBS. Jessica White.
Oh.
There's a sequel, and the whole thing is based around Jessica White. Basically, when this is when Roseanne was shooting the Roseanne show, and she was married to Tom Arnold. Arnold was really into the Dancing Outlaw documentary. He saw it on PBS. He and his friends, they would videotape it. They'd send it to each other. They'd sit around, drink beer, watch it, and love it. And it's fantastic if you haven't seen it. It's fucking hilarious.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, like if you watch any of this Tiger King shit, it's like the 80s version of that, except it's weirdly more depressing because it's dark. And then like a few years ago they did The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, and he's in that, and that's more about the rest of his family. But so it started off with this documentary, and then there was a sequel, and the whole point of the sequel is him going to Los Angeles to do a guest spot on the Roseanne show. Basically, the premise is Roseanne falls asleep, has a bad dream, and it's Becky is marrying Jessica White. That's the point to it. And then at some point in it, when he shows up on camera or like on set, Roseanne sees a swastika tattoo he has, and he's like, "Oh, I just like it, whatever." It's like, I just thought it was cool. He doesn't know what it means. Tom Arnold pays him money to go to a tattoo shop down the street to get it covered up, and he does. It's a fantastic piece, which I think is weirdly thematic with what's going on with some of the things we saw tonight with, in the case of John Weiner, making art on himself.
Also, audience, brilliant audience. We're still going to talk about the Singapore Sling, but
yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Roseanne is a good way to get sidetracked. But I did just Google first on-screen lesbian kiss, and it wasn't on Roseanne. It was on some dumb show called, what is the show called? L.A. Law. It was on L.A. Law.
L.A. Law had Harry Hamlin, he played Perseus in the old version.
Yeah. He played Perseus in the old
Clash of the Titans
with Rocky's coach.
Burgess Meredith, who was also who was also in Grumpy Old Men. He's the guy that kept telling the dirty jokes.
He's great.
Yeah, he died during the filming of the second one, the sequel, which had Sophia Loren as well.
So, but there was an early lesbian kiss on Roseanne, and I was wrong. It's not Sandra Bernhard. It says it generated enormous controversy, but it's a same-sex kiss between Roseanne and Mariel Hemingway, which is so weird to me.
Who is that?
Mariel Hemingway was like, what is she in? She's in the sequel to, she's like a cheekbony, blonde, white lady actress that was big in the 80s. And she might be in, what's that John Candy movie where he writes soap operas that happen? She might be in that.
Was that Who's Harry Crumb?
Yeah, she might be in Who's Harry Crumb, but I also might just be making that up. Like I made up the lesbian kiss thing.
Or The Great Outdoors. That one is Summer Rental, or my favorite John Candy movies.
Come on, dude. Better than Uncle Buck?
Uncle Buck's pretty good. No, I'm not gonna disagree with that, but just the credit scene of The Great Outdoors is fucking perfect.
Dude, The Great Outdoors is great when it's Dan Aykroyd. The weird twin kids I love. Dan Aykroyd's kids. He's just like, well, why are you here? It's so good.
The shitty kids that like they just don't say anything. They just stand there and stare at everything.
Until it's important that they say something.
Yeah. Until they go hide in the bear cave.
Yes. All right, let's
Singapore Sling.
We're gonna segue from bear cave.
Yeah.
my favorite gay bar into the Singapore Sling.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, I don't even know how to do this. Did we mention this is our first time doing this, guys?
Yeah. Thanks for watching us cut our teeth. So there's a cocktail called the Singapore Sling.
Yeah.
It's been made wrong a lot and made wrong more and then made wrong more again.
Yeah.
And
probably been made wrong more than it's been made right at this point.
Yeah. And I think that maybe making it right has been not lost to history, but everyone probably has their own. It's like stuffing at Thanksgiving. Everyone, like, do you put cranberries in it?
Yeah.
No, that's gross. Do you put grapes in it? No, I've seen grapes in stuffing. That's gross.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
Also, we just brought it back to turkeys and Ben Franklin.
Yeah, here we go. Turkeys, Ben Franklin, and now the Singapore Sling.
Anyway,
it was made. The history I could glean out of it was made somewhere. We don't even know when it was exactly made, but it was made at the Raffles Hotel in Singapore, somewhere between 1900 and 1915. And the reason why we have that swath of dates is 1900 is when the bartender that made it first started working there. 1915 is when he died. He was a Chinese immigrant. Eventually, he found his way to Vietnam and then eventually moved to Singapore. His name, I'm not going to say this right. It's Yam Tong Boon, I believe is how you say it. But who the fuck knows? I'm probably murdering it. But that is him. He made it. I don't even know what recipe it is. I just know that I've tried a million recipes. I think there's at least 8 in the Beach Bum Berry book. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right. So I think you're right. There's complex recipes. There's simple recipes. I think that the one that we make at Longfellow is actually like the Wondrich. Yeah. The Wondrich recipe or the Wondrich approach.
Yeah.
But I was also you said you brought up the anyway, I don't know, keep going.
Oh no, yeah. No. There's like a million different versions of it. Some of them involve pineapple juice. A lot of them have 1.5 ounces of gin. In my opinion, each one of those, and I've tried fucking all of them because, obviously, I like right off the.
Hey, that's ours.
Yeah, right. Oh, is it already up? Oh shit! Look at that.
It popped up.
Yeah. Oh well, whatever. I was gonna wait a second on that, but here it is. Yeah. So. So yeah, basically, there's a lot of different versions. A lot of the ones I've tried, they involve 1.5 ounces of gin. I think it's too much. The equal parts, like you see here on the screen, I think that's the best recipe. That's the only recipe I've had that I like. I tend to add 2 dashes of bitters to mine, but
ooh, I like that. I like that sound of that.
Yeah.
I think also. We should point out that somehow this drink has been adopted into the, like you just said, Beach Bum Berry has a recipe, and it's been adopted into the tiki canon.
Yeah.
And it's an unusual drink, kind of like the Suffering Bastard.
Yeah.
Where there's no rum in it, and it's still considered a tiki drink. I mean, I guess namely on location, it was made up in a hot, a humid climate, but also it's an equal parts drink. And I think equal parts drinks are the only drinks that matter, usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, no, and yeah, I think it's a fantastic fucking. I think it's a great fucking drink. Uh, I think if you are making this, and I feel like I'm definitely preaching to the fucking choir here, reading who all's been in the chat at some point tonight. But for people that may be watching this later, yeah, this it's important that when you make this, you build all your ingredients together, and then I personally like to do an ounce of soda poured into the into the glass, over ice first. Shake, pour the drink, and then top it off with an ounce of soda. So start with an ounce of soda, pour the drink, top with an ounce of soda. That way you get an even disbursement because uh, if it's not done that way, you end up with a bunch of soda at the top, and so you rip through, and it tends to be a little bit over flavorful because typically you're drinking this through a straw. It gets a little over flavorful at the bottom, those first few hits, if you don't do it that way, and then you end up with a super diluted, gross version.
and you should do everything that way. Gin and tonic, vodka soda. You always do your mixer first, or at least stir it. Like I drink Campari sodas all over the world. I'm a world traveler, Campari fan. No, I'm just kidding. I drink a lot of Campari sodas. And Campari is one of those things that sits heavy at the bottom, just like this drink would, because the Heering and the Benedictine are so thick. They just go straight to the bottom.
Yeah, they're weighty.
And you need to either mix it, like swizzle it, or roll it, or
something.
Put the soda in first. As Josh says, soda first.
Yeah, exactly. The weird thing also, something I personally always overlook with this, Benedictine actually kind of got a pretty good ABV going with it. I think it sits around 40%. I believe it does.
It's definitely foolproof. I mean, it's in the state of Ohio. We can't get. You have to buy. But I think there's two. At least at one point, there's two versions. But I think it's 40. I think you're right. I think it's 80 proof. So it's like normal booze.
40%, 80 proof. Yeah. It's weirdly. It kind of sneaks up on you, sort of like Grand Marnier. I think Grand Marnier's stronger than that, though, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I know they make 100 proof version, but I think the regular version might be 80 proof.
Yeah.
Chartreuse is what, 55%?
It's 110 or 115, one of the two. I think it's 100.
I think it's 110 proof. I think your first instinct was right. Yeah.
It is flammable. I'll tell you that. It does catch fire. Doesn't make for a good fireball, but it does catch fire.
I was gonna tell a stupid story so this kid, I won't name names, but this kid, way out of his league on this date, with a person that's just way ahead of him socially and just like whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, let me get two shots of green chartreuse, and do you mind lighting them on fire? And I'm like, no, that's tight, of course. Yeah. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And so I give them to them, and she hands it to dude, and dude has no idea what a flaming shot is, and he just like goes and rips it, and gets like a third degree burn on his lip, like instant giant blister.
Oh.
And like I had like gone back, was bartending on the other side of the bar, and I come back and I just see this like enormous blemish on his lip, and I'm like, what happened? I've never done a flaming shot, and I just like burned the shit out of my face. And I was like, oh. And then Josh Miller has the video I think Adri gave someone a flaming shot of chartreuse and like lit their beard on fire. Who knows this story?
Oh fuck!
Someone type it, and I've seen a video of just the person does the shot, person's beard catches on fire, and the next thing you see is just like people smacking his fucking face,
just smacking him in the face,
and like put the fire out.
And it just smells like burnt hair everywhere too on top of it.
I'm pretty sure Josh Miller has that story, but it might. He's got that video.
All right, I'm not answering this.
Don't answer that. There you go. It was Dave Englander, and it was amazing. That's from Josh Miller.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, Jeremy, just you got to finish this Singapore Sling. It's a refreshing, tight drink.
Oh yeah, yeah. I recommend you try it. I feel like a lot of you have here that's in the thing in the chat. It's one of my favorites. This one, I don't know why it's become a thing for me on Thanksgivings.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I always show up. I end up at your spot after Thanksgiving dinner, and next thing I know, I'm like 3 or 4 deep in.
Nice, I like it. I guess it's kind of like cranberry sauce. Like there's cherry herring.
Cherry herring and cranberry sauce. I think they're kind of two peas in a pod. They're like a close. They're close. Maybe they're kissing cousins or some kind of shit like that. I don't know. But yeah. Also, I thoroughly enjoy the way you guys glass it.
We use the old prayer candles.
Yeah.
It's probably sacrilege to someone somewhere, but
yeah, well,
hey, the prayer candles, man, they're $2, and then you get a glass forever that has words on it. It's tight.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome. Yeah, you got to make sure you get the ones that have the printed words and not the ones with the cheap fucking stickers.
Right.
Because that can be a thing too. Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, but
yeah, there's a picture of it that Katie Viox took. I think that's how you say her last name. But all right, who's still here? Did we lose? We lost. Is everyone still around?
We've gained people actually.
Nice. All right. Wait, what was I doing? I was just thinking. Shit. Here, I'll think of it. I had a. My mind is like going. I'm so nervous. My mind is going like north and south. My mind and spirit are going north and south. But
no wonder I wasn't able to cut the bottle in half.
Nice, you got my Big Trouble reference.
Fuck yeah.
Nice.
No
wonder why the bottle didn't slice in half.
Yeah.
Fuck. You were just saying something.
Oh fuck. I don't know. We got this.
Oh, it's not.
We got this last segment.
It's on me.
Huh?
No, I was saying we were talking about the bartending thing and it was on me and I was saying.
Oh yeah.
I was just trying to think of what it was. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, no. It's long story short, it's a fantastic drink considered. Yeah.
Oh my. Just Sean Weiner.
I got some text too.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm brushing up on my old editing skills tonight, guys. Okay. Long story short, yeah, I got one other thing we can do here. Like I said, it's a long round the way thing to of history. Like
grave
I said,
robbing.
Yeah. We're gonna get into grave robbing. We're gonna get into curses. We're gonna get into Seriously, no.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, we're getting into like I said, we're gonna end it with tomb torpedoes, coffin torpedoes. And if you don't know what the fuck that is, you're gonna find out. But yeah, so let's go ahead and start. And all this is loosely tied to Cincinnati. There is a little bit of reason why this is this. So it's gonna start with we'll start with William Henry Harrison. Okay, he was the 9th president of the United States. He died 31 days into his term, the shortest presidential term ever in history.
Did he get the flu?
Yeah, he got pneumonia.
Okay.
Supposedly it was like really cold or rainy or something during his inauguration. He caught it on his inauguration, is what happened. He was the hero of. He was a war hero. He was the hero of Tippecanoe. And he was at war with Tecumseh, who sort of united a lot of the Great Lakes Native American tribes, and they were trying to, sort of repel settler rule and things like that. And he earned the name Old Tippecanoe. Worked his way into politics, became the president. He was the eldest serving president until Reagan, and this is the 9th president of the United States.
Whoa!
So he was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I believe he was 68 or something like that, or
No,
Trump, 58 or something like that.
Yeah, Trump is 45. So
yeah.
Right.
Here, let me take a look here.
Here's how not smart we are at the podcast. I think Trump is the 45th president. Is that right? Yeah,
no,
he's 45.
He is the 45th president. Yeah, he is 40. He is the 45th.
So that means Reagan was 39 or 38. He's probably 39.
It went a long way. Put it that way.
Also, the first George Washington was a celebrity, and he was the president. But failed actor become president, ruined our country, and then failed television star become president, ruined our country. And I don't want to get political, but it's just facts.
Yeah.
It's facts.
Here's the thing. We're also going to touch on Reagan as well. Reagan is actually part of this. So into this whole fucking thing we're going to get into. So yeah, William Henry Harrison, at the time, up until President Reagan, was the eldest serving president. Like I said, up until Reagan was sworn in. He was the bearer of the curse of Tippecanoe. Now, before we get further into this, because we're not really even going to focus on William Henry Harrison, we're going to focus on his son.
That's right.
Yeah, but before we do that, let's get to this curse, because this is a good side part to this. So Tecumseh, the leader of Tecumseh's, I forget the name of it, because again I'm not a historian, but the union of these Great Lakes tribes was at
Tecumseh ran the Shawnee, I believe.
Yeah, the Shawnee, but there was a name of like the entire union, and that's what escapes me. But long story short, he eventually dies. He dies. I'm not sure if it's at the hand of William Henry Harrison and his forces or not, but he does. And his brother, and this is where it gets weird. His brother, Tenskwatawa, was he held a lot of clout as well. But before that, he was actually he was the village drunk. He was a mess. He was just drunk all the time, and basically what happened is he started almost like a cult. He was where Tecumseh was kind of like the muscle military political leader, Tezcatlipoca was he was kind of the religious ideologue. Basically, he had a drunken stupor that was so deep he thought he died, and which is sort of like my every Sunday when I'm working at the yacht club, but it's sort of how. So I can identify
your vision. Your
yeah.
vision quest ends with no sight.
Yeah, yeah, right. So basically, what he says is he was visited by the master of breath, and I have no idea what the fuck that is, but that's what he claims. And he was shown a vision of heaven that was full of game, wildlife and honey for those who live virtuously. And from then he renounced alcohol, so he kicked the bottle, and pushed to abandon all ways of settler life, and he was known as the prophet of the Shawnee. Uh, and so they believed he had spiritual and religious powers. He was the prophet. They listened to him. So this was like a 1-2 punch between these two guys. Tecumseh dies. Tezcatlipoca, he places a curse specifically on William Henry Harrison, even though I believe it wasn't even. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He places a curse on him, and the curse goes as this. It goes, any president that no, a president every generation would die. And this actually happens. Every 20 years, a president from William Henry Harrison's death forward, they died. They actually died. A lot of them were assassinated. One had a brain hemorrhage.
Tecumseh was the second gunman on the grassy knoll.
Basically, yes. You know what? We're getting to JFK too because it ends with JFK. Yeah. And
Reagan. Oh, that's why it ties into Reagan.
Yeah. So seven died, ending with JFK. 7 presidents in it. Every 20 years. And there were presidents in between, but it was every generation is when one died, and it was always on an even year, or like I believe is what my notes said. I forget, but yeah, every 20 years. So that is Harrison, Lincoln. He was the next one to die. Garfield, McKinley, Harding, FDR, and then finally JFK. And now here's the other thing. This is where it gets weird too. Though the curse at that point is technically broken, we had a couple close calls after that. Reagan. Reagan.
Hinckley.
Yeah. What was he was shot by Hinckley. And also Nancy Reagan. That we all know from the Just Say No campaign. All those Dare shirts, that is her doing. That all of you wore ironically in high school, thinking you were clever. She's responsible for that shit. She hired astrologers and psychics to protect Reagan during his presidency because she was really into mysticism, low key. But Reagan,
mysticism,
again, close call with Hinckley. George W. Bush wouldn't guess had an assassination attempt, and before that, actually on 9/11 of 2002, he fainted because he choked on a pretzel. So he almost died from a fucking pretzel on 9/11, 2 years after, everything actually the 9/11 happened.
Did he forget? Did he forget how to swallow?
Who knows? Possibly.
No, that was a bad never forget joke.
Never forget. But also later on, I didn't get the date on this, but he was with a president of I forget where. I should have wrote that shit down, but someone threw a fucking grenade at the two of them. Like So he was almost assassinated overseas by a.
Wait, do you mean a shoe?
No, not a shoe, a fucking grenade.
Someone threw a shoe at him.
Well, someone also threw a shoe at him, but in another instance, someone threw a fucking grenade. So, at him and the president of another country.
I'd argue that some shoes are as bad as grenades.
Yeah, depends on how chunky that heel is, I guess. Yeah. So. So, anyways, yeah. So that's the curse. That's the curse of Tippecanoe.
Tecumseh.
Yeah, Tecumseh's brother, Tippecanoe.
Tippecanoe, yeah.
Reagan technically broke it. Reagan also played a cowboy a lot of times in the movies.
Fighting Indians, yeah. Native Americans, but at the time, Injuns.
Yeah, Injuns. Also, fucking Adam in the chat says, never forget how to swallow.
Yeah. Thanks for validating my horrible joke.
Yes. So that we're moving on to the next Harrison, and none of these are related to me, by the way. John Scott Harrison. Okay, and he was an Ohio congressman, but he wasn't really known for much other than being the son of a president and being the father of another president. He was the father of Benjamin Harrison. Okay. And
Benjamin,
yes, Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Yeah, and I looked up some pictures, and Benjamin's a weird looking dude. He does not look like the other Harrisons at all.
I mean, what year are we talking about?
We're talking about, I believe here we we're talking late 1800s. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone looked weird then.
Yeah, but this guy, like the other guys, the other Harrisons, they looked how you would think they would look. This guy, he looked really odd. It also rated one of the lower tier presidents as far as the way they handled everything. I think he was the first guy to hit $1 billion in spending. But that's kind of boring. Let's talk about what's fucking weird about all of this. So in that era, and actually this was going on for 100 years. It was actually it was illegal to basically for medical students to work on bodies. People were very, these are Victorian times. They were very concerned about people having a proper burial and proper rest. And so basically what happened, you ran into a lot of grave robbing. They wouldn't necessarily dig up the whole fucking grave like you think it would happen. They typically would dig up the top, break open the top of the coffin, loop a rope under the arms of the body, yank them out, put them in a bag, and take them on. It was, and the thing of this is, at first in the 1700s, they said, hey, medical students have to supply their own bodies, or they have to figure it out, basically, if they want to work on bodies. Otherwise, you're just doing book work. And the problem with that is it caused a lot of lynchings. If you were caught stealing dead bodies, eventually a lynch mob would show up and that person would be killed. Medical schools, they kind of stepped in on this, and they kind of started this whole illegal body trade. And it wasn't so much that they were worried about their students. They were worried about the students botching these things and looting the medical schools, because sometimes the general population, they would break in, they would force themselves into these hospitals, and they would look around. If they found any bodies, they'd fucking trash the place, and it would go nuts.
Yeah.
Laura Gerhardt just said, "Just throw me in the trash." That's kind of how I feel as well. Just do what you want with me.
Oh yeah, John Gerhardt just brought up
Oh yeah,
the shortest side of the dead ringer. Sometimes you get buried alive, and they used to bury you with a bell, and you could ring it to say you were still alive. But not to detract from Jeremy's intense grave robbing story.
Yeah, but hey, but actually related, very much related to what we're talking about here. So basically, that's to give you an idea of what was occurring. So the med school stepped in, and they all worked together. Like all these schools worked together. They had this weird code of silence, and they would hire these guys to sneak out and steal dead bodies, steal fresh bodies for the med schools to use. They would often throw them in barrels of brine and ship them. They would ship them to other states, other cities.
Pickled humans.
Yeah, pickled humans. And they would ship them off, so you wouldn't have the chance of running into your family. Now, didn't always happen, but that was the general idea. And these guys weren't called grave robbers. They preferred to be called resurrectionists, which is a weird fucking term for that, but that's what they went.
But then I think derogatorily they got called ghouls, right? I think that's what the ghoul is a grave robber is a ghoul.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a fun.
Am I making that up?
No. And there's a guy that we'll cover on this as well too. A guy named William Cunningham. I'm not gonna go too far into him. He's worth a whole fucking episode himself. But really, okay. So the spring of 1878, we're talking about John Scott Harrison, the son of William Henry Harrison, the father of Benjamin Harrison. Spring of 1878. Okay. He ends up passing away. He ships off this mortal coil, and they go to bury him. And during the ceremony, they notice that an adjoining grave of a recently deceased family member that's sort of like not a Harrison, but kind of another family joined by marriage, his grave was robbed. So his body is fucking missing. And these are well-off people. You know, these are very affluent people. And this is in Northwest Ohio. I forget the name of the cemetery, but that's where it is. So a few days later, the son, one of the sons of John Scott Harrison, he goes to Cincinnati. He and 3 Cincinnati Police Department officers, they basically go to the Ohio Medical College, and they go and look for this family member. The family member's name was Augustus Devon. And this is where it gets fucking weird. So they go looking around. They find the bodies that they're working on. They look in, and they found some student working on a lady, removing her head and ripping open her breasts and shit like that. It's a real grisly scene for Victorian people that aren't into this shit.
But the ones that are into it are stoked.
They have the ragingest boners is what they have. So no, but essentially, what happens is they're looking for essentially a cousin. That's what they're looking for. They're like, we're looking for a cousin Augustus. They're looking around. They don't find shit. There is this weird chute in one of the building, or one of the areas where the bodies are, where the cadavers are, and they ask, like, oh no, it's just some old guy. You're looking for a young guy, because Augustus was like 23 when he died. And they look, and just they're like, hey, we'll just pull the rope up, because it's a body hung up by a rope, and they go to pull it up, and to the son's fucking surprise, it's his fucking dad's dead body. So somewhere between the funeral and them going down there, they find their dad's dead body. And
whoa,
yeah, Augustus not found. Later, he is found. He's found at the medical college in Michigan in a vat of brine. Is how they found him. That's how they found his body. But
a Michigan pickle.
Yeah. That's
That's called a Michigan
it's like those
pickle.
fucking that toe in the Alaskan bar or whatever.
Oh, the sour toe shot.
Yeah, the sour toe shot. We need to get into that one time.
We do. That's on. I have a bucket list. It's like one thing long, and that's pretty much
shot.
it.
Sour toe shot.
You have to take a boat to get to that bar and then do the sour toe shot.
Yeah.
All about it.
Yeah. Okay, so no,
sorry.
That's perfect. So from there, and also I do want to cover this part that at this time, rich people they take a lot of precautions because they don't want the bodies getting stolen. And for the body of John Scott Harrison, they hired a guy to watch this body, or well, not to watch the body, but to watch the grave to make sure the grave wasn't robbed. And they paid this guy $1 a day. He made $30 a month just to stand around at night and make sure no one robbed this grave.
So I had heard that was common practice sometimes. Like you'd have a family member like guard a grave.
Yeah, exactly.
And like literally like stay up all night, like on watch. Like you can't steal my, grandson's body or whatever for science. I'm gonna fucking plug your ass.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's precisely what happened. And they take other measures too, like they put like concrete slabs over over the casket and shit like that when it was buried. But essentially, where there's a will, there's a fucking way. But yeah, apparently, sometimes affluent families they hire somebody, and they hired this guy, and his palms got greased, and he looked the other way while this grave was robbed. And so that is how the son of a president and the father of another president his body ended up in a fucking medical office, found by his son hanging from a rope by accident.
But Jeremy, at the University of Cincinnati.
Yeah, it's specifically right? Well, the Ohio Medical College, which was, I believe, is what is now UC. Yes,
it was at UC at the time. But I'm just saying that's crazy to me that because I guess the only reason I bring it up is Jeremy and I were talking about this, and I was like, there has to be cases of UC. It's an old enough college to where they were like robbing bodies.
Oh,
and then you find out, yes, UC robbed bodies, but also they robbed a famous body.
Yeah, a very famous fucking body. Yeah, a very affluent body. They ended up moving his body, and they buried him next to his father, William Henry Harrison, in a family crypt instead of in a typical gravesite. Also related to the Ohio Medical College. So we were talking about. I was talking about William Cunningham. He is a notorious, and he was dead by this point. He was more active in the 1700s. He stole hundreds of bodies. The way he would do it is he would take these bodies, he would put a hat and a coat on them, and then put them in his horse-drawn carriage next to him, and ride away like they were a drunk friend. And if the body fell over within earshot or sight of somebody, he would prop him back up, slap him in the face like, hey, keep it together, man. Keep it, essentially. Trying to make it look like they were just a drunk friend he was taking home.
Hold it together.
Yeah, but his nickname, William Cunningham, that is, his nickname was the Ghoul, or Old Man Dead, but more commonly he was called Old Man Cunny. But eventually he died, and he lived a hard life. The coroner guessed that he was about like 60 something, but he was just 50 during the last census before he died. his skeleton was on display in the Ohio Medical College. They had him with a shovel, like by like a faux grave site and things like that. That was on display for a long time. Eventually, they lost track of the body, but that's a fun aside with grave robbing and the Ohio Medical College. But here come 1878. This time, and we were talking about a little bit about this before we were on air. At this time, there were 11 other body snatching scandals during this year. So not only just John Scott Harrison, but 11 other things happened in this area. And all of it kind of surmounted to what is the first civil suit in Ohio against the Ohio Medical College and another medical college. I forget the name of it. But also, come around this time, in 1878, Philip K. Clover, he was a Columbus, Ohio artist. He designed the first coffin torpedo. And let me go ahead and just show you guys what these fucking things look like.
So just think of that name. I believe that. So my only interjection here is I think the coffin torpedo. I don't know the etymology of the word torpedo, but I believe that it led to submarines in World War I. You know, Wolfpack, all the German subs, and all those things, using the word torpedo because it was underground, underwater.
Yeah.
All of those things. I think the etymology of the word torpedo, as we know it, comes from this grave torpedo, and that's a total assumption from me. But I think it's.
I mean, if I was going to use my context clues, I'll go with that. You know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I think just from what I've read, it's like, well, I don't know where the torpedo word comes from originally, but we call torpedoes to this day underwater, ballistic missiles that blow things up because they travel underground or under the surface.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm showing you right here, okay, this right here, exactly, this is actually a coffin torpedo right here. That's what this is. It's pretty fucking big. It looks like a giant version of the little cannon, and it's on the Predator's shoulder or something.
Yeah, it's like Goonies. It's like Goonies meets Predator.
Yeah. If the Predator was what is it? What is that weird?
One-Eyed Willie.
Yeah.
It's like,
or what is that weird time traveling stuff that people do that they cosplay?
With like monocles and
shit.
Yeah.
It's like
steampunk. It's steampunk Predator.
Yeah, it's like steampunk Predator or some kind of shit like that.
Predator. my new comic, Steampunk Predator.
That's
pretty good.
That's a costume I'd pay to see. Yeah, I'd pay to see that. But here, what we're looking at here on the left is this is the patent schematic for the coffin torpedo by Philip K. Glover. As you can see, up at the top of it, you have the body, and there's this weird line, and what that is a tripwire, and that's how it goes off. Like you open the fucking coffin, tripwire gets pulled, you get blasted.
Yeah.
This thing is.
And I think some of them like would rotate, right? And like
that I don't know.
So I read some version of this where like you'd creep up, you'd be the ghoul grave robbing, and you'd creep up and you trip the tripwire, and the gun would just like rotate on an axis and like fire a shot. So it might not hit you.
Yeah.
But it might fucking scare the shit out of you, but also hit someone else who's guarding their own grandmother's grave.
Yeah. Well, supposedly it was more of a scatter shot sort of thing. So it was just gonna, if it didn't get you, it might wound you or something, you know?
Yeah. Well, from that one diagram you just posted, it looks like there's 5 shots in it, like 5 musket balls or 5, I don't know, like double-aught buck shotgun rounds.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
If you look at the left, right? What's in there? How many charges are in there?
Yeah.
5. Am I making that up?
Yeah, it looks like 5. 5.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah.
So it's like double out buck shotgun shell. Like it just goes off and shoots like mini balls at 5 mini balls at you.
Yeah.
Which is tight.
Yeah. So and on the left here, in 1881, a former Circleville probate judge, Thomas N. Howell, he did a version that it works more like a landmine. It wasn't in the grave itself. What it did is it was put above the casket, and I guess it sort of worked on pressure. So if you kind of dug so much up, and the weight of the soil kind of I guess hit a certain threshold.
So the opposite. It's like the opposite of a landmine. Like a landmine, pressure pushes down, it detonates. This one, pressure comes off, it detonates.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, essentially.
That's smart.
Yeah. So and there's a lot of conjecture about whether or not these things were really used. Like John Gerhardt brought up earlier, we were talking about the dead ringers, and then there were some other things too. There were keys put inside. There would be if you were buried in a mausoleum, there would be keys to where you could get out if you were not really dead. They would put those with the body. There were these breathing tubes sometimes set up with the casket if you were buried and say like you were just in a coma or something, and then you woke up, you wouldn't suffocate to death, and then you could pull the dead ringer and maybe someone would hear you, and then they'd know to come get you. I'd love to look into that further and maybe find some stories about that, about whether or not anyone was actually saved by a dead ringer. I don't know, but yeah. So long story short, that's kind of where we went. We started with Tecumseh, and we found our way back around all the way to coffin torpedoes. So that's Wikipedia whole history is maybe what we can call that. I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys in the chat there.
We got 7 people, I think.
Looks like we got more.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, if you guys dig this, we'll do it probably more in audio form more often, but occasionally we'll probably do this with video.
And
maybe we'll screen our calls before.
Yes, that was some drama, but I think Jeremy and I both realized like this is great. Coffin Torpedo does sound like a good band name, but I think Jeremy, right? I don't know. What do you think? I think I would want to thank the crowd for dealing with us while we muscle through this. Yeah, and obviously we can.
Yeah, while we fumble our way through all of this. No, we really appreciate it. I appreciate it. I know Mike does. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we figured while we're locked inside of our houses, this is a good time to just go ahead and start and see how it goes. So hopefully you guys weren't bored to tears. Hopefully you had a little good time, and maybe we'll try and do this again.
The good news for us is we have a captive audience. If you all had to work, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how that would do. Yeah. But also, on a serious note, thank you. Reach out if you need anything. Jeremy and I heard a thing once, an adage once, that it takes 6 years for a stand-up comedian to get good at their job. Yeah. Jeremy and I plan to do this in 6 episodes. We're going to be good at this. So
yeah, 6 whole episodes.
Keep listening. We're going to have more fun stuff for you. I guess next episode we'll do the Cumminsville Ripper. A serial killer in Northside?
Yeah.
Did you ever think there was a serial killer in Northside that wasn't someone we already knew at the yacht club? Like, you didn't know that.
Yeah, and maybe we can have maybe we'll invent a drink called the Cumminsville Ripper as well.
Yeah, it's a shot. It's like human blood, B. It's like B. I don't know blood types. It's like AB positive blood.
Yeah.
Mixed with Northside Distilleries vodka, even though they're in downtown OTR. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like you garnish it with like a swath of this part of your hand meat right here.
like a chunk out of like a chunk out of this, like a twist, a skin twist.
Yeah, like a skin twist. You take a fucking peeler to it and just. Oh, I just got the willies thinking about that.
Also, make a Singapore Sling. We talked more about dead people than drinks, but
oh yeah,
I guess that's probably some Freudian thing, or like the old joke, like I don't know. They kept showing me the ink blot things, but all I saw was like pictures of my father, like whatever that bad joke
is. Yeah. No. Yeah, man. We appreciate you guys. I think we're pretty much done. We were worried about doing an hour, and here we are. We're actually we hit 2 hours. So thanks for sitting through it, guys. And I don't know. We'll see you very soon. Okay.
All right. Bye, y'all. Have a good night.
Love you a long time, guys.
Bye, Jeremy.
Bye. Hey, don't hang up yet. I want to talk to you. Okay. All right. See you guys.
All right. Let's talk. Will everyone else hang up?
Yeah.